Hi there and welcome to our presentation today. Today we're going to discuss the life cycle of managing activities in today's modern workplace and share how organizations can increase productivity by extending Project Online into a unified work management platform. Before we get started, we'll go over a few quick logistics. First, we're not going to open the line for questions. All of the lines are going to be muted during the webinar. However, we will answer questions that are captured in the chat panel and question panel throughout today's presentation if you have any questions. So feel free to ask anything and we'll get those answers out to you. You can also feel free to email us directly and we'll be happy to meet with you. The team will be providing their contact information as we get to introductions and towards the end. Also, if for some reason you get distracted or pulled away during the webinar, don't worry, we're going to be distributing the recording of today's presentation to all of the registrants following the webinar. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Jim and Matthew for their presentation.
Thank you, Michelle. Appreciate the introduction. My name is Jim Patterson. I'm in a business development role with Tivitie, and I'll be presenting some concepts to you today on extending Microsoft Project into a unified work management platform. And then Matthew Willey will follow on with some demonstration of some of those capabilities in the technology itself. So let's just start with some concepts. Let's start, with the whole idea of an enterprise work management lifecycle. Really, at the start of a planning cycle, or even before that from an intake process, work is coming from a variety of different angles into an organization. And it could be within a singular unit or multiple business units within an organization. Ultimately, it starts with some top-down planning, which is really some high-level enterprise modeling and analysis, defining financial targets and operational targets, and really just executive level things for governance and intake and really approval process of work that needs to happen within an organization or is being proposed within an organization. That work then goes down to the business unit level for some more detail flushing out, pushing the targets down for the business down to an actionable level where more detailed plans are created. Those plans get validated, and then they get analyzed and consolidated with other results from the business as they do plan finalization. So the final changes in the approved plan come, and then there's the end of the planning cycle, and at the end of the planning cycle, really it becomes time to authorize work and then begin execution. But this is where it starts, and depending on an organization, this could be straight line in a singular linear process. It could be coming from multiple angles into this process, or it could be multiple processes at the end have to come into a single body of work. But the idea of work can be everywhere, a lot of different participants across an organization, both internal and external for that matter. And it can be very complex because different types of work can be everywhere across the organization. Just from this chart, there's probably ones that you'll recognize from your own organizations, whether they be tasks, to-dos, issues, work requests, backlog items for development. All those types of things are really work items or potential work items or things related to work items that actually happen in an organization and generally result in something actionable, something that has to be done and something that has to be delivered or at least have to be evaluated. The idea is this can be daunting. There can be a number of different tools, processes, and approaches that deal with these things. And it's very difficult to come to a comprehensive approach to all of this. Also, there's different levels or tiers of work management. When we talked about that planning process in the initial slide, the strategy or executive decisions on what the mission, vision, and strategies and business drivers are dictate what type of work maybe we should be doing so that it aligns with the business and helps us achieve those strategies or at least directly contribute to success on those strategies. So whether they be strategic plans, enterprise architectures, general new product development, directions and things like that, even the general ideation and innovation pieces of a business, these all feed into the strategic part of the planning process, which ultimately manifests itself in work. And then we have to look at this from a portfolio perspective. When those strategies start manifesting themselves in potential objectives or initiatives or portfolio items, which can include application portfolios, services portfolios, project portfolios, etc. Those things then have to be assessed and evaluated as far as their contribution, their return, and just overall value that they deliver to an organization. So this type of work has to be evaluated and done at this level before we actually execute on that work. The key is we want to do these things so that we end up working on the right things that are contributing the right value to an organization. And then there's the work execution and collaboration, which is really the thrust of what we're talking about today. This work execution and collaboration can be performed by different organizations, be collaborative across multiple departments or divisions. It could be multidisciplined. It can be granular type of work like to-dos. It could be more technical, on-demand oriented work like service requests. And it can also be discretionary or enterprise compliance type of projects that happen within IT or other parts of the business and involve not just IT resources, but have collaboration and deliverables from the business that IT may be delivering these projects for. At the end of the day, there has to be an ongoing alignment or an attempt for ongoing alignment from the strategic objectives of an organization all the way down through the programs and portfolio items that are selected or the investments that are chosen, and then all the way down through the work execution and collaboration. And then the execution of that work should feed up so that we are giving progress, giving status, and giving visibility into what's happening at that level of the organization. So it can be very complex and a lot of players involved. Now, Gartner really stresses that we should be providing the right tool to the right user, meaning a one-size-fits-all approach is probably not what's best in order to best accomplish the needs. The portfolio level customers tending to be at the PMO and above, executives, steering committee folks, etc., they're interested in creating decision frameworks and selecting projects based upon those frameworks. And then they would like to then track the delivery of those investments at a very high level, not necessarily get into the weeds. The example that's shown here is something like Project Online that can help with that intake, evaluation process, and then monitoring and assessing and analyzing and reporting on that information at a portfolio or, say, a program level. The execution level customers, the folks that are actually performing the work and feeding back into this process, their interests are different. They're interested in a project and resource management product to manage the tactical details, right, of the project and be able to effectively communicate progress and the expenditures, meaning actuals, back to the business sponsors and the management so folks can make sure that these things are on track, it's delivering the right value, and see if that portfolio level analysis needs some reassessment along the way. Down at that level in the execution, we're looking at different tools that people might be using, and this is just a small subset of what people are using in the marketplace today. There's Microsoft Project on the desktop. People are managing things in SharePoint lists and task lists. People are using tools like Wunderlist, which was recently acquired by Microsoft and is becoming part of the Office 365 stack. The Office 365 Planner, which is a lightweight planner that folks are liking to use. Visual Studio for work items that are managed on the software development process. And then down below, there's a number of agile tools for the folks that are doing more agile type of work. And JIRA, version 1, and Rally, along with Visual Studio TFS, are ones that are more popular in that regard. So the idea is different types of work are being addressed by different tools and approaches within an organization today. So how do we tie this together? Business strategy tied to work execution, and then putting the right tools in the right hands of the right people so they can participate on a basis which is commensurate with their level of participation. For example, in this scenario, Project Online is an all-encompassing top-down, bottom-up, from the portfolio down to the work execution solution, and then end-to-end from demand management across to portfolio management, resource management, financial management, time reporting and time management, and then all the business intelligence and analytics that you might want around all that work. But to that end, it may not be appropriate for everyone to be a direct contributor in Project Online, where the portfolios are being managed, where the resource management is being performed, etc. Out of that is coming work. There could be tasks, there could be issues, there could be risks, there could be general lower level to-dos, etc., that are being generated from within there or maybe coming from other sources. And those need to be addressed holistically across an organization for us to address everything that's on our plate. What this diagram is illustrating is that Project Connect from Tivitie is a cloud-based connection or integration platform that will integrate Project Online with a variety of solutions out in the marketplace with out-of-the-box productized integration offerings. For example, as we go from left to right on the bottom half of this diagram, people that are directly involved in waterfall projects, they might choose to use Microsoft Project as their task planning and task creation and task assignment and update forum. And that can be done either in a desktop version of Microsoft Project or the Project Web Access or web version of Microsoft Project, a lighter version of that in the web browser. The idea is that folks who are comfortable with that and it's appropriate for them to work on that from a project management perspective on waterfall projects can do that directly in Microsoft Project. And that's a standard, out-of-the-box way that people would use Project Online. Now, via Project Connect, you might have projects that go through that governance and authorization process via Project Online, but when it's determined that these will be development projects that will be managed in an agile fashion, they can then be deployed or acted on using agile solutions. And down below it's using Visual Studio TFS or Visual Studio Team Services Online, JIRA version 1 or Rally. The idea is to have that work be authorized through that governance process in Project Online, but have people work on it at that level. But our focus today in general work management is on that kind of what do we do about the work and the tasks that people in Microsoft that may not be working in Microsoft Project on a day-to-day basis. That information can be pushed out to tools that are simpler and less complex to deal with, that really are more about a task management and allow them to work on them with other things that are on their plate beyond just project work. And the examples we're using here today are Wunderlist, which is a web-based task management tool, and Office 365 Planner, which allows for more, say, Kanban card-based and simplified use of task management. We'll focus on that today. The idea is you can actually have Project Online at the hub, but have a variety of task management or work management tools feeding into that process on a bidirectional basis. So in this unified work management use case, we talked about all the demand that might be coming in from a project's perspective, request perspective, changes perspective. And these work items can be vetted, planned, scheduled, and authorized, and even high-level resource planning done in Project Online. That being said, Project Connect from Tivitie would allow you that, to have people that work in other tools. In this case, we'll use Office 365 Planner and Wunderlist as the examples. Project Connect sends the project and task assignments from Project Online to those tools for visibility and update, allowing me as the user of those tools to get my project assignments and tasks along with my non-project stuff and my own personal work items and to-dos into one singular form to allow me to have one place to provide updates, access, and status, and have that information then feed back and provide those updates directly back to Project Online for consolidated status and portfolio reporting, meaning that whether you updated the project task, for example, in Microsoft Project, going back to Project Online, or Planner or Wunderlist, the net result back into the project management system would be exactly the same. Hopefully that makes sense. Another unified work management case would be the same scenario, but having those project plans and that information be driven out and to be pushed out to Wunderlist. So Wunderlist here is a great online management tool for task management. We use it internally to manage just our own personal to-dos and things that we assign to one another during the course of a day of operation. But it can also be reflective and have categorizations of tasks or assignments that are put to you from the Project Online system, meaning you have one form to update everything that's on your plate and on your work and have those updates go back electronically to to Project Online. And what's nice about these tools, a lot of them are very, very mobile friendly, and you can actually use those items to be able to fulfill and provide status and updates from wherever you are on whatever mobile device you're comfortable with. And the same scenario holds true with Office 365 Planner. For those of you that have used it, it's very much like a Kanban style card that you can actually put work through different stages of progress across the different columns to easily provide status and open them up and provide some narrative update onto that. So that information and status, as it's updated here, would be pushed back and reflected back into Project Online as well. Just a different user experience and a different tool that, say, a business user might use, or somebody who doesn't need to be into the details of a Microsoft project plan can still participate on a basis that's commensurate with what it is their level of responsibility or accountability is into the work management process. So what is the value of unified work management? Well, the integration that we're talking about really drives enhanced visibility and better ensures alignment with business goals on the actual work that's being done, because everything gets tied together so well. It also can integrate all work and resources into a single view, whether it be at the portfolio level where folks are looking at things in the aggregate, or for me as an individual contributor who is actually trying to find a single place to do all my work, as opposed to today where people sometimes have to look at 2, 3, 4, 5 different places to get all their assignments and update everything that's put on their plate. And Project Connect quickly and reliability brings together business systems. Hopefully you saw from that diagram, it really provides an ecosystem where things are not working in fragments or in silos, but they are working together in harmony with seamless integration to have things go back and forth in a very, very effective basis. It also allows users to work in tools that are appropriate for their role in the process, but also in their level of maturity. Some folks are intimidated by the complexity of, say, a Microsoft project. This allows people to participate in a way that's easy for them to access, and it's more accessible for them in order to participate. And it improves adoption of these systems. Sometimes in an enterprise work process and system, sometimes adoption gets impacted by providing people tools or a user experience that is more complex than they are comfortable with or feel that they can sustain on a regular basis. Being able to simplify it with the task management tools that we just talked about can really improve adoption and success of adoption of the rollout of a system. Also, a better user experience drives better participation and compliance. If people find something easy to use and more within their wheelhouse, they will participate on a more frequent basis, and you'll find that you'll have less compliance issues with getting people to provide updates. And better collaboration across all areas of the business is generally an output of having this type of byplay across these different types of tools and processes. So the general outcomes of this, we can get more real-time and comprehensive reporting and status because the process is streamlined. It gives us more centralized visibility across all the work that's going on when it all gets back into Project Online. And the decentralized contribution, which I'm talking about, being able to centralize plan, but assign out the work, and then have people be able to provide updates in real time on their own terms and the tools that they're most comfortable with, gives you a quicker turnaround on getting that contribution. So the streamlined collaboration across roles means we no longer have to poll people or knock on doors to get status or corral people around a conference table for an hour so everyone can provide status and figure out where we're at. This type of process can allow us to figure out where we're at through this reporting or update process, and then save our face-to-face meeting time for addressing issues and doing problem solving and figuring out how we're going to address the issues that are on our plate. It also reduces barriers to participation simply because folks that require and would need a more simplified user experience can get one. And ultimately that results in more happy users. So I'm sure you've got enough of the concepts from me, and you're probably interested in what the solution looks like. And we're going to give you some examples on how that would work. And Matthew Willey will be demonstrating how that will work.
Thank you, Jim. All right, so today for the demo, we're going to be walking through that life cycle that Jim was talking about, right? How projects come in, we may need to prioritize them and do some analysis to figure out which ones we should do first and which ones are going to give us the most benefit and, things of that nature. Then we're going to take those projects, and once they've been approved based off of that prioritization process, we can then plan out those projects using either Project Online's built-in online planner, or you could use Project Desktop like you may already use. But you also have some other options, like for example, the Office 365 Planner. That's going to allow you to build it out using that tool instead. It's a little bit lighter weight. You can drag things through a Kanban board, and we'll be taking a look at that. You could also use Wunderlist. It's more of a task management type of a system. So if you have a more basic project and you don't really need the full schedule, you just need kind of a list of tasks, and you want to give people a nice place to see all the tasks and work that's assigned to them, they can update status there and such. And the beauty is it doesn't matter which tool you use to manage your projects. All that data through Project Connect's integration is going to flow back into Project Online and then ultimately back into these different reports and such. So your output is the same. You still get status on those projects, and you understand the costs and the resourcing of those projects, no matter which tool people are using to actually manage the project itself. So what I'm looking at here right now is the first part of that process, and that's the project requests. So I can see I have lots of different project requests coming in. I have some critical ones, some high ones, some moderates, some lows, requests by alignment, so we can see hopefully more of the requests are aligned than not. Requests by type, so we can see where a lot of our demand is coming from. Is it mobile requests? Is it security requests, application development requests, whatever it might be. And we have some strategic bubble charts and such within this report as well, so that I can see that the higher the bubble is, which the higher the project is really, the more aligned it is. And then the further to the right it is, the higher we've prioritized it. So hopefully the projects that are very aligned, like this one here is almost 100 aligned, or is 100 aligned, is also a very, very high priority project. Whereas we have some other projects over here that aren't very aligned, but they're set at fairly high priority. Maybe we need to bring that back a little bit. So it kind of gives us some better visibility into what's going on and helps us to kind of see this in a better way. Then I can come and I can filter down and say, you know what, I'm just interested in the critical and high priority requests, or just requests of a certain type, or whatever it might be. You can come and set your filters the way you want it, and now you can focus in on just those requests and see what's going on there. So once you have all these different requests that have come in the system, you can kind of analyze those and get some good vision into what's going on and where the requests are coming from and such through this report that I'm showing. Then we can actually jump into Project Online into do some different portfolio analysis. So the first thing we might want to look at is cost. We only have a certain amount of money. We have, say, $5 million, or we have $4 million. We can create some different scenarios here and see what it looks like if we have $4 million, what it looks like if we have $5 million. And it's telling me, based off this prioritized list of projects, that I should do these ones and I should not do these ones. That's going to keep me within my budget. And this is based off of some preliminary budgets that were put into the system and some different choices that people made based off of how strategically is this aligned to our business objectives. Is it going to help us reduce costs? Really, what's the value of these projects? So we put in all this information beforehand. Now we can figure out, okay, here are the ones that are going to give us the most value and keep us within budget. But if we were to have $5 million, then we can do more projects. You'll see more moved in here. We can force some in, we can force some out. If there are things that we have to do, we can do those. If there are things that we know that we don't want to do for whatever reason, we can force those out and start to get a better picture of the projects we should be working on, or what it's going to take to do all the projects, right? You know, we're going to see here that we need $6 million, let's say, maybe to do all the projects, that type of thing. From there, you can then move into resources. So just because we have the money to do it doesn't necessarily mean we have the resources to do it. So what I can see here is now it took out all the projects that we don't have the money to do. So it automatically took those off the plate. But now it's looking at, well, which projects do we have the resources to do based off of either a high-level project schedule or a resource plan that people built. We can see here now, here are all the projects that are going to give us the most value within the resources we have, but we can start to do some different things. One thing is, notice all these projects are set to start and finish excuse me, around the same period of time. So what if we move these around a little bit and we stagger them a little bit better? So we can come in here and we can update the start date of this and say new start date's going to be 3 months later or 4 months later or whatever it might be. And we can play around with that and see if then within the resources we have, are we able to get the projects done that we want to get done? You can also say, well, what if I hire more resources? I can change that from 2 to 8 to 10 or whatever it might be, and it's going to pull in more projects. So you can hopefully see how you can use this to take all that demand that's coming in, figure out which projects are going to give you the most value for your resources, both money and your actual people that you're investing into this, and figure out which ones we can do and when we can do them, that type of a thing. Once we've figured out then what we can do, now it's a matter of actually going and planning out these particular projects. And then figuring out how are we actually going to get this work done, right? So depending on the type of project that you might be working on, and depending on who's managing the project, there are different ways that you might want to do that. So for example, I could come in now to my social networking integration project, and I could say, I want to open this in Microsoft Project for editing. And that's going to pop open Microsoft Project and let me build my schedule in there and start planning it out and figuring out what it's going to take to get it done. I could also use the online planner within Microsoft Project. We have other options through Project Connect, like say open it in VSO, or which is Visual Studio Team Services. It's the online version of what was formerly known as TFS. So that would allow you to build your project in more of an agile way using an agile tool. Other options that we have is we could pop this open, say in the Office 365 Planner. So now I'm looking at that same social networking integration project, and I can see here are all my tasks that have not started, here are my tasks that are in progress, here are my tasks that are completed, and I can kind of build out all the different tasks I need to do, and I just assign them to someone, move it from one status to the next as I work on it, and then I'm easily able to manage the same project, but within the online planner, and the Office 365 Planner, instead of in Microsoft Project. So if you're looking for more of a Kanban board, a lighter weight way to kind of manage the tasks and the work around your project, this might be a really good option for you. The cool part is though, no matter which tool I use, as I update the status here, it's pushing that status back into Project Online. As I assign a resource, it's updating that information back in Project Online, right? Anytime I'm changing things here, that's all going back into Project Online and flowing back together. I can then come in as a team member in the Office 365 Planner, and I can go into my tasks and I can see everything that's assigned to me in one place, and I can take those tasks and I can kind of drag and drop them across, and I can update my status that way, right? There's lots of different kind of cool things that you can do in here to allow you to manage your projects easier and in a very lightweight way. For example, for assigning tasks to people, there's a nice view here that shows all the people that are working on your project, and you just come in and drag and drop the tasks around into the right person, and it makes it kind of a quick and easy way to assign tasks. Lots of other features and capabilities in here, but the idea is I can plan my project and manage my project in these different tools and have that information flow back into Project Online. So that, managers and such, executives can still get status into what's going on. We're going to take a look at some of that in a little bit as well. Another option is a tool that Microsoft recently acquired called Wunderlist. Wunderlist is a really great task management tool, very lightweight, allows you to come in real quickly, add a bunch of tasks, and then you can simply, as you finish them, just check them off and say, yep, mark it as completed, I'm done. There's also some cool features in here where you can comment on things, and you can add subtasks and attachments and all different types of things like that. It's a really nice tool that we actually use a lot at Tivitie to manage some of our more lighter type projects. And what I can see here over on the left is there's a folder called Project Online, and then within that are all of my projects from Project Online, and those tasks can either be pushed over here from a project manager, and then I can just update status, or I could even come in here and create those and have them push back into Project Online, so I can actually really create my schedule per se, more of just a task list in here and have those synced back into Project Online. But that's along with any of my other work that I might be working on, right? I might have personal things that I have to do, a to-do list, or family to-dos that I have to keep, and manage and make sure that I'm getting done. And when I go into my assigned to me view, it's showing me everything that it's assigned to me that I haven't yet completed here. I just want to see everything that I need to be working on today. I can come into that view, or everything that needs to be done this coming week. You know, so you have some different nice views in here that you can use to see all of your work across these different systems. We could even integrate into other systems like, say, a service management system that you might be using and pull in all your service requests. So those could show up here with all your project work and those types of things. Lots of different ways this can be used, but the idea is as I'm updating my status and getting this nice interface here, this also has mobile applications, so you can do this right from your phone. It's going to send that status right back into Project Online so that we can get visibility on what's going on. For example, I have a project portfolio dashboard here, which is showing me all the different projects that I have going on right now. It's grouped by portfolio, so I can see I have some different portfolios, and here are my projects. I have some KPIs around how those projects are doing, and some of these projects might be being managed in Wunderlist, some might be in the Office 365 Planner, some might be in Project Desktop. You know, it doesn't really matter. All of that information rolls back together so I can get status, and then I can come and drill in and see, okay, well, how's the schedule on all these projects? And I can come and I can drill into that. And I can filter this down. You know, I just want to look at the projects where we're having problems, where the overall health is red or yellow. Now I'm just looking at the problem projects and what's the schedule here? How far are we behind? You know, those types of things. I can see it in a Gantt view if I want to. I can look into the costs around these particular projects. You know, issues, risks, right? It doesn't matter where I'm tracking this information. As long as I'm tracking it and it's all connected back into Project Online, I can get these nice types of views and visibility into all of that. While still allowing people to use the tools that they want to use to manage the projects in a way that makes sense for that type of a project. You can also see resource demand and capacity and such around all of this different work as well, right? So we're planning all this work in different systems. Traditionally, if that works in different systems, it's really hard to get an idea of who's working on what. If you have over allocations and those types of things. But what I can do now is, since I'm pulling that all back into Project Online, I can have this type of a dashboard where I can come in and go, you know what, I just want to look at a certain role. I'm interested in my business analysts. And I can come in and I can click on business analysts or DBAs or developers or, you know, whatever I want to do within here, right? Project managers, that type of a thing. Focus in on a certain group of resources or a certain department or whatever it might be. And start to look at, okay, are these resources being utilized properly? So I can see here their utilization over time and some details down here below in the data grid. How available are these resources, right? Committed versus planned versus actual work, which is kind of a nice one. So I can see we originally came in and we created a resource plan that said we're going to need these resources for about this much time. And then we came in and we built our project schedule, and that was pretty on track, it looks like here. That pretty much matched our original estimate. And then we went and we put in some timesheet hours or some actual hours, and we can see we didn't spend nearly as much time as what we said we were going to. What's going on? Why aren't people actually spending that time? Or, you know, whatever it might be. There can be a lot of different combinations of how this can come out, but you can start to get some really good visibility into that. So using these different reports, this report pack that we built in Power BI, you're going to be able to get visibility into all that information in Project Online. And since we're tying all these different systems together, we can bring it all into one place, and you don't have to try to manually build these reports, which can take, you know, a lot of people's time and cost you a lot of money, make your organization a lot less efficient, and make things take longer. So hopefully today you can see how you can kind of go through the full life cycle that Jim was talking about and start out and prioritize all that demand coming in. Then you can manage the project using any method and or tool that you want to use that we can connect up to, and then push that information back in so you can get these beautiful dashboards and reports to be able to get visibility into what's going on and be able to make better decisions going forward without having to tie people into one particular tool and say, you have to manage it this way. It gives you a lot more flexibility, as well as it lets you, make multiple different requirements, right? Not every project's the same, so a different tool might be better than another one, right? So we're just helping people to be able to do their jobs better. Cool. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn it back over to Jim. He has a few more slides on the Project Connect platform and some closing slides, and then we'll let you guys go for the day. Thank you very much. All right, turn it back to you, Jim.
Terrific. Thank you. All right, so hopefully you got a flavor for how the solution works together. Apologies for the interruption. So how does Project Connect work? Well, essentially, it's a productized-based integration platform of which a number of different integrations are already done. Project Connect allows you to install and connect to these platforms to do the types of integrations that we look at. So we actually build and maintain these. We help deploy and configure them for you, and then basically manage them on a productized basis, so any changes to the solutions or the APIs and things like that are managed, and it's done from a subscription basis. So really, there's business logic that's involved on whether you'd like things like one-directional or bi-directional integration, how often you'd like the integration or the data transfers to happen, etc. So there are some configurable things that are done right through the administration pages that are very easy to connect. And we have a rapidly growing library of pre-built applications and standard technology adapters to help you do these connections with a variety of tools in your organization. And it really is a cloud-based architecture. We've really developed this platform up in Azure, and we have our connectors that are leveraging all the tools of Azure Service Fabric, and allows us to leverage the scalability and the auto-scalability of that platform, and allows us to connect to other things up in Azure, to on-premise or private cloud implementations of tools, or other hosted solutions that you might have out there. So the idea is that whether you're on-premise or in a cloud of one form or another, Project Connect can allow you to connect these solutions irrespective of that landscape. And just a little bit about Tivitie. We are a provider of enterprise business and project management solutions that are built on the Microsoft technology, most focused on the cloud technology these days. But we've been doing this for over 20 years with all the incantations of project and project server for many, many years. We have thousands of implementation stories from those things that we've done, and we've got a lot of pre-built business solution apps like this Tivitie Project Connect that allows people to get more value out of this Microsoft technology. We provide low-risk options to do software as a service in the cloud or integration as a service solutions. So it really doesn't require a lot of investment in infrastructure on your part to really give this a try and do it on a very low risk, low investment, low barrier of entry basis. And all of this is built on Microsoft Cloud technology, meaning it's proven, it's robust, and it's something that will handle the needs of even the largest organization. And we're a full service organization that provides products, deployment services, training services, including our training university, and just general support services around all the products that we provide, as well as the Microsoft solutions that we help organizations deploy. We've been doing this over the years, and we've gotten a lot of accolades and awards, so we've got a proven track record out there in developing solutions for the marketplace that gain traction and get recognition not only from our customers, but from the analyst community out there as well. If you would like to learn more about this, we're happy to do a more private demonstration and go more in depth with you. You can either contact us at info@tivitie.com. You can feel free to contact me directly, Jim Patterson, at jpatterson@tivitie.com, and we're happy to address any questions you might have. As Michelle mentioned early on in the introduction, we are going to make sure that we have a full recording of the topic today. And for those of you that attended and those that may have missed it or had to drop off early, we'll make sure you get a copy of the slide content as well as a link to the recorded presentation. With that, I'd like to thank you all for your time and attention today, and we hope that you got some value out of the content. Have a great day.